Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blizzard Watch. We're going to talk about stuff, and I'm not Matt. You may have noticed that. I'm Joe Perez, one of several hosts on this show. Matt's taking I don't want to say a passenger seat, but has relinquished his hosting duties temporarily. And
blood squids, guys. It's blood squids.
It's blood squids.
I got blood squids.
It's blood squids all the way down. But what I can tell you who's joining us that's not a blood squid. Well, that's Liz. Liz, I'm glad you are not a blood squid.
I'm glad I'm not a blood squid either. That would be terrible. That sounds terrible.
I'm just going to point out no one's actually seen Liz and a blood squid together at the same time.
That's true. That's true.
So I could be a blood squid wearing human skin? Is that what we're suggesting?
Well, that's what they're doing in my eyes right now.
Hold on a second. Isn't that just what we are?
Basically, yeah, we're a big circulatory system. We're a skeleton wrapped in a circulatory system in other tissues, wrapped in skin.
Piloted by a squid.
Yeah. Piloted by some kind of monster thing in your head. Yeah.
There will be we're going to talk about some monstrous stuff because, there is something actually happening this week. And if you didn't know, on August 26th, which is 6 days from this recording, The War Within is releasing. Woo!
And if on a Monday, which I don't think is a great idea. Woo!
Technically, it's a Tuesday, I think, right? No, it is Monday.
It is in fact Monday. It's I think it's 3 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, wow. Which is weird. Monday seems like a weird choice for it.
It is. It's a little odd.
But go ahead.
It's just against what we're used to. We're so hardwired into the Tuesday thing that any change is like, what? What is happening?
I'm kind of curious if it was a conscious decision. And if it was a conscious decision to push people towards the early access and purchasing a higher tier, because, if you're in the high tier of things like the Epic Edition or whatever they're calling it now, you get early access to the game on August 22nd, which means you can log in and start your journey 4 days before everybody else. And by everybody else, I just mean the people that didn't feel like spending the Epic money for the game, of which I'm confident there will be a ton of server pain from everybody who bought the Epic Edition to get a head start. So, are you guys excited at least about the new expansion coming out? Are you excited about the early access? I don't know if you guys are going to be playing early access.
I honestly don't know. I don't know what version I have.
Did you have beta access?
You have early access.
Okay. Yeah. The other thing is that on the day that it's going into early access, the 22nd, I may be fine, or I may have had an eye removed. So yeah, we'll see what happens. That couple of days are going to be interesting.
Matt's going to be having his own war within.
Yeah, Liz? I might literally now wear an eye patch for real. Like that is actually the direction my life is heading. So I want there to be more eye patches, transmog wise, guys. I feel like you should put that in there. Put a lot more eye patches in, so I can do that. That'd be cool. I would appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, Liz, are you excited at least?
Yes, I'm going to get in there and get some early leveling in. I am switching mains this expansion, and I am not sure to what entirely. So it's a big expansion for me.
Liz not playing a paladin? What is this?
Well, the problem is we don't need as many healers as we have in the guild, and I'm like the only person right now who does not enjoy playing a Retribution Paladin. I love the Holy Paladin. It has issues, but it has a place in my heart, despite its issues. This character started out as a Holy Paladin. I started it in Burning Crusade back when you had one spec. And it was really improbably expensive to change that spec. And I played as Holy, I leveled as Holy, and I've always had that mindset with this character. It was Shadowlands before I even spec'd Retribution at all on this character, because I enjoyed the kind of shock-it-in leveling style, the play style, even as Blizzard made it more and more impractical. And finally in Shadowlands, I was like, okay, this is just too sluggish. I'll hit Retribution, and I can do that for leveling. But I don't enjoy playing it. I do not enjoy playing it on like a raid level. And so I've been trying to figure out what I'm doing, and I don't know. And it's probably going to help to have those extra few days to play some classes. I leveled a bunch of things in.
I got an idea.
Huh.
Tank.
No, no,
Mm,
no.
I need a tank.
I don't think
Oh,
Liz.
yeah,
I don't
Only
think.
the
I
main
don't,
tank.
I don't think Liz wants that much attention.
Well, main tank is great, especially like if you does your guild have a long time main tank right now who's kind of like bitter and cynical and jaded?
No, we have a rotation of tanks actually.
Are any of them bitter, cynical, and jaded?
Technically, Stop is.
Yeah, there you go. Just work into his friendship, then replace him and realize why he feels that way. It's golden.
I mean, healers also get that way. It doesn't take. It
Yeah,
does
but
not take
healers
long
get
at
it.
all.
Healers get the whole, stepping and standing and things. Whereas for tanks, it's much more of a why are they doing this? Oh God.
Mhm.
But I'm probably going to be doing Augmentation Evoker because I think that's a really interesting playstyle. A lot of the problem I have with DPS is I get bored pressing the same 4 buttons in sequence over and over, and I am oversimplifying things, but you kind of, a lot of specs have a rotation and you do the rotation. I get bored. My mind demands constant stimulation. I get bored. So, I need to find something that holds my interest, and it's hard to tell what that will be because I don't play a lot of alts, and I've been experimenting, but playing characters in WoW Remix ain't the same as playing them on live. And so I'm looking forward to having a few extra days to try out these characters, run them through delves, run them through follower dungeons, so I can get some feel for how they're practically playing. And, okay, is this as interesting as I think this is? Is this going to hold my interest during a raid tier? Or am I going to be doing raid nights where I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm so bored and I want this to be over, which is what happens when I'm doing Retribution Paladin on those times I've switched over. I hate it. I do not enjoy it at all.
I feel like this is me almost talking to type here, but I'm going to be brutally, blatantly favoritist here. If you want a spec that isn't just pushing 3 or 4 buttons, which actually requires a bit of, think Fury Warrior, because they are not like that.
I am in this odd position where somehow I now have 2 level 70 warriors. And that's a thing that happened. So and I think Fury is, I leveled 1 as Arms and 1 I've leveled as Fury, and I think Fury is a lot more interesting. And it's one of those, it's like a high APM spec. It's like you're always be pressing Whirlwind.
Yeah, it's like, are there any treasure goblins around here? I'm going to pretend there are.
Whirlwind is a very satisfying button to press.
It's not a good one to actually press when you are trying to do DPS. If you're trying to actually do DPS in a raid, don't use Whirlwind for everything. But when you don't have that pressure, just hit Whirlwind or hit Rampage. Anytime I can hit Rampage, I love Rampage because it's just like blah blah blah. It's like I turned into the Tasmanian Devil. Come here.
It's so fun to press Whirlwind. It's the ultimate spin to win button.
Yeah.
I mean, you may not always be winning, but you're definitely spinning.
I'm also looking forward to seeing how certain classes and their hero talents interact to be possibly better or more interesting.
I was gonna say that's kind of the big thing that's happening, right? Like for all the classes, and if you're listening to us, you probably already know most of the details of the expansion stuff that's coming. But that's one of the key features that I think is going to change how classes play and interact with each other. The hero talents becoming available now will potentially shift how you feel about your class or different classes, because some of them have the potential to wildly change how a spec and class feels, which is it's going to be interesting because you mentioned that you hated you don't like playing Retribution Paladin in a raid environment, and there are maybe other people that feel that way, but the hero talents may shift that for some of them, right? So and because the talent systems are there's 3 hero talent trees, and any 2 of them are available to 1 spec, which means you can have different flavors of this. You could have an Arms or a Fury this, or an Arms or a Prot that. I can't remember the ones for each one off the top of my head. I know that the Slayer is like Fury and I think Prot. I'm not sure, but I know the Slayer is the one I'm going to probably play on my first run through.
So what is everyone planning on playing? What are you 2? I mean, I'm here for the surprise factor. I bet I'm never going to expect it. Matt, so you're doing Slayer Warrior?
Well, for my first character through is going to be Rhett Pally. I'm not being sarcastic or
there
trying to
you
mess with your
go.
head. The reason I'm going Rhett Pally first is that I usually play my my original warrior with my wife. And I don't know when we're both going to both get time to play at the same time. So that character is going to sit parked. I still have 4 other warriors I could level that I want to. But the problem there is I want to level them all. And I have not given my Rhett Pally, who's also a Holy Pally. In fact, I play her as Holy more often than I play her as Rhett. I'm going to see how Rhett feels because it's a Dark Iron Dwarf, which means I feel like it's got like a good connection to the story of War Within, because we're going to be running into the Earthen. And so I want to like take her through, see how everything feels. But I will admit that within the first couple of days, I'll probably be like, this is wrong, it feels wrong. And I'll probably jump to my Dwarf Warrior because I know myself. And I remember when back in Battle for Azeroth, I did this to myself. I set up to be on a Blood DK first. That was my first character through. I leveled them to max level. I tanked raids with my friends. And I mean, I was so gung-ho for that. And within like, as soon as I got to the first Old Deer? Yeah, it was the Old Deer raid. First Old Deer raid we did. I was like, nope, this character has to go in the bin. I can't do this. I feel like I'm literally committing genocide. So I jumped to a warrior. That happens to me all the time. So we'll see. But I really am going to try to run the Rhett Pally first.
And I mean, I'm just going Totemic Shaman because I've played everything on the beta that was available, and it felt the best on paper, but it also felt the best in general as far as I'm going to be playing Resto. It's what I've been playing forever. But it feels the most integrated with my play style. And one of the things that people will remember about me, and if you are in our Discord server, or if you're friends with me on Discord, you'll notice that my icon is essentially my face strapped over a totem. I like totems. I think that they're one of the really cool class features that you've had. And I feel like certain specs have just never leaned into it. So like Restoration Shaman is one of those ones that never really leaned into it. Yeah, we had some really cool, powerful cooldown totems, but yeah, like it didn't really feel like that was like a central focus. And now it can be the central focus. Managing totems and moving them around and doing all sorts of fun stuff like that can actually be a thing. So that's what I'm looking forward to playing. And Liz, you said you're still undecided, so.
I mean, I'm probably doing the Augmentation Evoker with the Chrono Warden. There's some kind of bronze thing, and
actually,
I'm into it.
Since I want to try and play a Rhett Paladin, what hero talents would you suggest I should play?
Templar.
Is that just the best one, or just one you think is the coolest?
I think for Retribution, it's kind of both. Like, Herald of the Sun it just feels a little lukewarm. Like, and Templar, okay, if I'm remembering this correctly, Templar adds this new ability, so it feels very active. You're slamming things with your hammer, and it's more visceral. And Herald of the Sun is more passive. It's like, okay, it adds all of these light-themed things to other things you were already doing, but Templar feels more like the active, I'm going to hit you with a giant hammer spec, and that is really, why are you a Retribution Paladin if not to hit things very hard with a very large hammer, sword, whatever?
The important thing is hit things. Right?
Exactly.
Matt seems to be fine with that one.
I mean, generally speaking, I'm not good at playing ranged. I've tried a few times. The best I did was my hunter, because I could kind of pretend that my hunter was just ranged hitting you. Like, it felt like, I just like to imagine that every arrow was a boxing glove arrow. Just like, if you don't know what those are, trust me, Green Arrow was a really weird character in the 60s. But yeah, I like the idea of just punching people a lot. I mean, that's one of the reasons I loved Shaman for so long, was that because they turned enhancement into the punch spec. In fact, I'm still depressed that they don't still have that. Well, I guess they kind of do.
Is, and they also now have Wind Fury, so they punch very fast. So like you could still do that with enhancement Shaman. That's still there. And
obviously monks can punch you.
Yeah, it's true.
And punch you very fast, and also kick occasionally.
Yeah. But the War Within releasing isn't the only thing that's also coming up. We have the 20th anniversary happening soon too, don't we?
Yeah, I think that Gamescom intro, they said something about they are going to start the events in October, right? I think that's what I said.
Yeah, I think it was October is when they're going to be starting.
Yeah. Which is, a little bit early, but cool.
It's also really hard to believe that we've been playing this game for 20 years or longer.
Honestly, for me, sometimes it's harder to believe that I haven't been playing it for 500 years.
It feels like it's always been there, which is kind of terrifying.
Now, did they announce what any of the anniversary events are going to be, or did they just mention that they're going to be happening then?
I heard no announcements, just that they're happening in October.
Jonah Fries went up on stage and talked a little bit and gave us a little bit of Diablo stuff, but it was all very vague, and I think that's in large part because we're getting more events this week.
Yeah, on the 21st, they're doing a big Xbox thing, yeah.
No, not just on the 21st. On the 21st and the 22nd and the 23rd, starting at 9 in the morning on Eastern time, there will be an Xbox stream. Well, Gamescom is over in Germany, so that's probably a very reasonable time for them. It's not a super reasonable time for people over on this side of the ocean.
Yeah, we used to have E3 and we decided we didn't want to have a big gaming convention anymore, so now Gamescom's pretty much it.
So yeah, we're going to have events every day, and I imagine we're going to have a lot more information about this for the podcast next week. So even more news. It's nonstop with the news right now.
If we're, can tear ourselves away from whatever we're doing in the war within.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. If we can even tear ourselves away for enough time to do a podcast, I don't know.
Yeah. So look forward to that. Another thing that was released, I think it was earlier the week, last week, or was it? I don't remember when the cinematic was released. We got a new cinematic with Alleria Windrunner, which I don't know if this is Matt or your note that seems to indicate that she and Terrellian are on the splits. I didn't quite get that from it, so I'm kind of curious.
She said something along the lines of, "Even though I knew that it would drive me away, I would not change." It was. I'll say this for that cinematic. It was very, very dramatic. The cartoonishness of it was interesting. It kind of reminded me of the Wrath cinematic.
We're also calling it a cinematic, and it's more of it's
a short animated thing. Yeah,
it's a short animated thing. And what I most thought watching it was, okay, where's our animated series? Because this looks so great. And the style is great. The animation is fluid. I really enjoyed it. But okay, give me more.
It was like halfway between a visual novel and an animation. Like it was that the same thing they did with the one prior to it.
It feels like these definitely have more animation than the previous ones, and it just felt so good, and it's had the action moments were like actually there instead of these still frames, and I have loved some of the animations Blizzard has done before, but this felt great, and it's just like Warcraft, StarCraft, Overwatch, all of these Blizzard's games have so much story around them, and it always feels like this is great fodder for an animated series.
Yeah, especially with Arcane release. The next season of Arcane releasing soon too, right? Like it's just a reminder that this is ripe for it.
We also have multiple places that you could see it being on. Right now Amazon is willing to put anything anyone even mentions to them up to see what happens, and it's worked pretty well for a couple of them. The Fallout series is genuinely good.
Great.
Yeah, and I won't say that the Halo is genuinely good, but it's got its moments. I'll give it that. I think the actors are trying. I just think a lot of times nobody writing the show understands what the hell they're supposed to be doing. But yeah, there's a lot. I mean, you mentioned Arcane. There's the recent Castlevania series, which was pretty much
fantastic.
It was fantastic, but it was also embraced the goofiness of Castlevania without being afraid of it.
It also embraces the goofiness of anime in general, right?
Yeah, exactly. But there's a great scene where Trevor Belmont and Alucard fight, and Alucard is being such a jerk, and then Trevor just starts kicking his butt. And it's like, whoa, you can fight. Because Trevor's kind of in the show. Sometimes Trevor ends up being the butt of what's happening. So it was actually really good to see him come out with a whip and just stunt on Alucard for the whole fight. Like, yeah, I've been fighting your dad. I can handle you. So there's a lot of good stuff out there. I really do feel like you've got room for, you could do, like, I still to this day think Overwatch should have had a series. I cannot believe that ball got dropped.
I'm really surprised with that. Not even that the comic, but that's That's a whole other thing, which we can talk about at length, I'm sure, at some point, but I don't think now is the right amount of time to do it. But that said, the animation, going back to it, the story beats from it are really sort of in mild spoilers here if you haven't watched it, it's like the internal struggle of Alleria. It's her position as essentially a void elf, her figuring out what that means in the context of her life, and it putting her at odds with, again, the love of her life, the one that she, essentially fought to be with and has like built an eternity with. And so it's interesting because now she's getting into this role where it's almost like she's got the martyr thing going on. Like she's got the preeminence of like, I must sacrifice myself. I've already lost so much. It's fine. And it's an intriguing choice for her character. Because if anybody deserves like a happy ending, I kind of feel like she's in that category.
Yeah, but the problem with Alleria Windrunner has always been that she has sabotaged her own happy endings.
Oh, every single time.
And the whole deal with her and Alleria, with Turallion getting together in the first place, was that she rejected it until like such time, and she realized, oh, well, we're stuck on an alien planet. We're never going to get home. I guess I might as well just accept that I love it. And then as soon as they got a chance to get involved in an even bigger, more cosmic war, she jumped right into it. And then she ticked off the sparkly chandelier alien and embraced the void. It's just every time it's like she's like, well, someone's going to do this horrible thing. It might as well be me. It's like, no, it could be somebody else occasionally. Alleria, calm down. So yeah, it's interesting to see them playing that. It's interesting to see how they actually contrast her to Xal'atath, because they're obviously artistically doing so. The trade dress, the images, but it feels like they're actually trying to set up a narrative interplay here.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. Like especially the visuals. Well, yeah. I was going to say, going to the visuals, I want to touch on it real quick. Like, you're right, because look at how Xal'atath is portrayed and how she's been sewn. And then Alleria is essentially like the light version of that. Like the braided hair, the white outfit, which is an interesting choice for a Void Hunter. But like the visuals are definitely like an antithesis to Xal'atath. Please continue.
I just think it's interesting because in a lot of ways, you've got with Alleria, someone who is constantly sacrificing herself, and Xal'atath, somebody who is absolutely comfortable sacrificing everybody else. Like, oh, no, I'm not going to suffer. You're going to suffer. That the whole point of this was that you do the dirty work, my good. But now I don't have any use for you anymore. So you just get in there and die, and I'm going to move on. Like the two of them are like very antithetical in how they approach these things. So I think it's interesting.
Yeah. Something to look forward to. It just also does mean that she's going to be a more prominent figure than I think we originally anticipated moving into
they made it seem less. Yeah, they made it seem like she was going to be one of the secondary characters, but they've pumped her up to the point now where I'm pretty sure she's going to be one of the mains.
Which makes sense as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if not now, then when? But this seems like exactly what she was made for. Essentially, everything she did with becoming a void elf seems to be like
we needed an angsty windrunner. So we had to use one of them, and the last one currently kind of occupied. So we got to move this one. Yeah.
The last one attempted to commit genocide, so we're gonna move away from that one.
We're gonna let her rest for a while.
Yeah. But speaking of story, we also got a little bit of a sit down with Chris Metzen and Scott Johnson. They did a one-on-one about Metzen's return to Blizzard and the Warcraft franchise. I didn't get a chance to read through this, so I'll be looking to one of you to sort of fill in the gaps. But I mean, Metzen is back.
I didn't read it. I just watched it, but the video itself is interesting. Metzen's back, yes, but a lot of it is actually about how Metzen is dealing with the WoW he came back to, which I thought was a pretty fascinating discussion. One of the things he said that surprised the heck out of me was that he's playing a Volpera. And not only is he playing a Volpera, he's playing a Volpera hunter that he deliberately dresses up like Robin Hood from the Robin Hood movie, the Disney one.
Yeah, of course.
I'm sitting there going, this is what happens when you get to be in your 50s. You just stop caring what people think of what you do. You just say, yeah, I'm dressing up my cartoon fox like a cartoon fox. I don't care what you think about it. It's a cartoon fox. Why shouldn't he be shooting a bow? And, if you happen to be a cartoon fox in front of me, I'm probably going to try to enlist you into my weird cartoon fox idea. So, yeah, I liked that discussion. I liked Metzen talking about all the stuff that they've done since he was there and how much he likes the changes it gives to the game. He was talking about how much he likes the different silhouettes. He was talking about how much he likes the expanded story. Definitely dropping hints that we're going to see stuff from during the period of time that he was not involved, get a heavier focus than people thought. A lot of people thought when Metzen went back that he was essentially just going to toss out everything he didn't do himself and drag it all back to wherever he was going.
That was a fear that I had. I'm not going to lie.
I don't know if that's actually what's going to happen. I cannot read his mind. And I've certainly had differences with stuff he's done in the past. But I was heartened to see him not coming out and saying that stuff is all terrible. I want to do this original stuff. He was very open to the idea of the stuff that's been the past few years. He specifically talked about all the cool stuff from Battle for Azeroth. So there's things that he said that have me cautiously optimistic, but I don't know if I can break down the whole. It's like a solid 35 minutes of talking, I think. So I don't think I can break it all down in this podcast. I don't know. Liz, did you get a chance to watch any of it?
I have not watched it. No.
Yeah, I was curious about your reaction.
I am heartened to hear that that it does not sound like he is against some of the content that's come out, because certainly one of my concerns about Metzen coming back was that, Dragonflight has been kind of a breath of fresh air that's included a lot of diverse characters. It's included a lot of exploration content, which sometimes WoW gets very, laser focused on story and plot, which is great. But Dragonflight had a lot of exploration. It had a lot of cute little side stories and just tons of diverse and different characters that we don't usually see highlighted. So my biggest concern about Metzen coming back would be a return to the norm. And the norm of being... If anything,
he does not seem to be doing that, which as long as that's the case, I'm okay. If we get there and suddenly literally everything new and interesting has been tossed out, then I'm going to be upset.
Yeah, that's always been my concern since Metzen was announced as coming back. And it's interesting because I'm not enthusiastic about Metzen, but when he took the stage at BlizzCon and, gave his big pitch for the World Soul Saga, I was like, yeah, hype. And then it's like, after it was over, I'm like, wait, that's Chris Metzen. That's the guy who has done all of these stories which have not always been satisfying or interesting or diverse. And it's, I hope he grows on what Warcraft has done since he's left and not turns it back. You know, does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, I totally think I'm on the same page with it.
Yeah, I think we all are, because again, I'm also in that camp of I've enjoyed where we've gone, and Matt and I have spent several hours talking about where we'd like to go. And a lot of that is contingent on what we've already seen them sort of lean into with the exploration and with everything else. So I'm hoping that they lean into more world building, less boys trip old school stuff. So
yeah. I also hope this.
Yeah. Also, and I didn't watch this yet, but I did notice that there was another video that was released with another Wowcast talking about the War Within world building. There was nobody from the story team on there, but I know that Taryn Gregory was on there. Did either of you get a chance to watch that?
I listened to it because it's just a cast. There wasn't any video that I saw. I think it's interesting. I'll be quite upfront. Some of it's just fluff. That is how these videos sometimes are. They're stuff that people in this podcast have already heard because, we pay attention. It's kind of our job. But I did anytime I get to hear Taryn talk about anything, it's great.
Oh, I love Taryn.
But in this case, this wasn't really about story at all. It was about literally building the world. It's about, how do you get to inhabit it? The story that it gets told through where you go and what you see. Keep in mind it's an underground expansion. So one of the things they're talking about is the difficulty in, you can't just keep presenting gray cave walls. The zones can't look the same. There has to be a feeling of, okay, we're in a different place now with different rules. Like Hollowfall versus, I forget the first zone. The dwarfy, the Earthen's first zone. It's each of the zones as you travel to them. Like there's the one with the Nerubians, mouth won't work. All this stuff is different, and it needs to be visually distinctively different. It needs to be orally distinctively different, which I thought was a cool thing to talk about. Quite frankly, I just put it on the list. I like Taryn, but it is a cool video. It's cool audio. You should go listen to it if you're interested in how they build the actual place you go, because that's the deal, as far as I can tell. That's what it's about.
Okay. Something to look forward to. Moving along, though, for a last bit of WoW news. Sad, because I think we all enjoyed this. As of this recording, the Mists of Pandaria remix, or remists, as us in the community have been calling it, has ended. And there's a bunch of stuff that you can, I guess, do now to your character getting transferred over to the main thing. I have not looked into it at all. So, Liz or Matt, do you want to chat about that a little bit?
I haven't even thought about it. I know that Liz has been loving a ton of Mist characters, so she's probably the one to take the lead here.
Yes. So, I mean, your characters are all automatically transferred back into Azeroth. You will find them when you log in Stormwind or Orgrimmar, depending on your faction. And if they're level 70 characters, so one of the bad things, all your gear is gone. I'm sorry, you can't keep all of those crazy powers. You will no longer be one-shotting bosses and soloing raids. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. You can't keep doing that. I wish we could, but you can't. You're now back on Azeroth, following the normal rules of time and space. Level 70 characters will have a set of eye level 467 gear and 30 slot bags, and a pouch with 2,000 gold in it, because all of your currencies, all of your items will be gone, except for gold. Any gold you earned in Pandaria, you still got that.
Which wasn't a lot, because most of the stuff, you couldn't sell stuff for gold, and there wasn't really a whole... Yeah.
Exactly. But, you have a little. And you really need that 2,000 gold, because you are going to log on, and your transmog is going to be trash. It's going to be trash. This is a serious problem. Don't you laugh at me, Joe.
I'm laughing because I know you're right, and I know what's going to happen.
When you say it's trash, what is it? Since they don't let you keep all the good gear you got, is it like the starter 470? Okay, so they actually give you like
you get 467 gear, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's good gear. My evoker logged in and had a blue and silver set, which appears to be kind of a generic Dragonflight set. My mage, they appear to be old class sets. My mage logged on, and I believe it's the Arcanist set kind of look. So mage didn't look that bad. Drakthir looked really bad. This blue totally clashes with my horns. It's not okay, and I don't like it. My shaman logged on, and it's one of the early shaman sets. Maybe tier 2. I don't know. So not always terrible, but if you, like us, spent your time in Pandaria crafting beautifully weird transmog looks, they're gone. They're gone. You're going to have to use that gold to make new transmogs, because now, in the horrible, sad world of Azeroth, transmog is not free. It was free in Remists, not free anymore. But actually, the biggest annoyance I have with our new characters, all of your button binds are gone. Your skills have been applied to your button bars in a completely random order that bears no resemblance to what they were in. I have at least 2 characters where their talents have been changed in various ways. So I log on and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get to play. And I'm like, where's this button? Where did it go? And I looked at my talents and it's like, oh, I have spec'd out of this for some reason. So there's a little bit of disorientation in the transition. When you log on, check your spec. You're going to have to start over with your button bars, because they're a mess. They're just going to be a mess. And then fix your trans. It's important. Better transmog means better DPS. So go make it right.
It's true. I can't argue. DPS.
Missile launch, but no lies detected.
But yeah, I am going to miss this event. I had a lot of fun in it. I thought it was something that was absolutely fantastic. I was pretty critical of Plunderstorm. Like, it was fun for a little bit, and then I kind of I soured on it after a little while. It just didn't feel as fun as it could be. This, though, they knocked it out of the park. It was a really cool experience. Yeah, it wasn't without its flaws, like some of the raid size restrictions because of some of the stuff that they could have done but didn't, which I get. But I don't know about you guys. I'm hoping that this is something that comes back in the rotation. Maybe later on, or they modify it to increase the level cap or something like that. It was a ton of fun.
I would like to see it done for like some other expansions. Like I could actually see this being a really good thing to do with, like, say, Shadowlands, because a lot of people didn't really get to see Shadowlands all the way through. They kind of jumped to the end for the Threads of Fate thing. I think needs to be re-examined.
I don't want to go back to Turbo Hellmat. I just don't.
See, any expansion that has a part where I can sing a song about us going to this place. Let's go to the mall today. I'm sorry, I'm down for it.
But I mean, but they can easily do the same thing with Legion, or they can easily do the same thing with Battle for Azeroth. Well, I say easily, and that's I don't mean it, and like it's not going to take a monumental amount of effort.
You could go back to the most popular expansion the game's ever had. Do it with Wrath.
Yep, you could do it with that as well. Like there's tons of options that potentially fit this in. But I like the idea of the remix. I like that sort of giving players a chance to experience something that they didn't do before. And also, let's not lie, the idea of being insanely overpowered was pretty damn good. Like, it
honestly felt to me like Diablo in WoW form. Like it was
yes,
exactly.
The
first time that WoW has been borrowing stuff from Diablo all the time, but this was the first time it actually tried to play like Diablo. Yeah, which I thought was working pretty well, actually.
I agree. I that was one of the first things I thought of too. Is like, this feels like a Diablo season almost, and Diablo 3 season where like it was really easy, in my opinion, to just go absolutely bonkers. But it was a lot of fun, and I know a lot of people had fun. Like Sinwise in our guild, and if you're an old person from the WoW community on the site formerly known as Twitter, you may remember them, was having an absolute ball, and definitely Sinwise yearned for the mobs because Sinwise was destroying said mobs pretty handily. It was pretty good. Everybody seemed to be having fun. People were trying stuff that they normally wouldn't have tried, which I thought was really kind of cool. And I think maybe probably the best part about it was, like, again, I leveled another druid, but I wanted a Cultiran. So I leveled my Cultiran, got all the way up, right? But I know people were trying classes that they never would have. People were trying, like, in our guild, we're trying mages, or, whatever the case was, or I think I saw a couple of people on rogues, and I never see rogues anymore. So yeah, it's go ahead.
I leveled 2 evokers, a warrior, a death knight, a mage, and a shaman, and I'm not even one of those hardcore people who was really trying to level all the things, and I still leveled that many classes.
Yeah, and again, that just speaks to how much fun it was. And also the power system was really good too. Like, it did a very, very good job of making you feel, I don't want to say just like in charge, but that level of customizability, similar to like the Season of Discovery runes, really was good for players. I think it was very enticing. It made you want to play, and I think that was kind of one of the most important parts. So, but I think that's enough about WoW Remix. We can go ahead and move on to some Diablo 4 news, and I'll look to one of you. So, Liz, I mean, I haven't been playing Diablo 4, so I don't know if you have. Matt, I don't know if you have.
I have.
So, if you want to talk about the Mother's Blessing XP buff.
Oh, it's really good, and you should play Diablo 4 so you can get the XP buff, which is going for a week solid. Liz?
So Mother's Blessing gives you plus 35% experience, multiplicative on top of any other experience bonuses. So if you're playing the season, you can have the Urn of Aggression from the season's blessing. You can have your elixirs, and Mother's Blessing is on top of that. It can let you level super duper fast. It lasts until August 27th. So depending on when you're listening to this, may not have a lot of time left. But it's a good thing, because Season 5 is actually the shortest season Diablo 4 has ever had, because they decided that Season 6 will start with the new expansion, which is launching at the beginning of October.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't give us a lot of time for Season 5. So
Season 5 is going to basically just be in and out really fast.
Yeah. We're halfway through Season 5. That's a thing that happened. It feels like it launched yesterday, and we're already about halfway through. So, if you're into Diablo 4, if you want to finish your Season 5 stuff, if you want to collect those Battle Pass sets, then log on, take advantage of this buff while it is there, because it's really, really going to help you.
And not only...
It is also, it's a good time in terms of the season, because as Liz pointed out, we're essentially already halfway through the season. So rather than spending like the amount of time you often have to get your character fully through the season, you can do it in like with a big chunk of XP off, which is added to the fact that they made XP better like last patch.
It's a lot. It's a lot faster to level than it was at launch. So I'm looking forward to you, Joe, jumping in maybe when the expansion launches and seeing what you think about the leveling experience now, because it has changed a lot. Gearing has changed a lot.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to the expansion quite a bit. And not just because I want to see what's changed, but also like they're adding a bunch of stuff. Like we just got the trailer for Mercenaries, which will be coming in the Vessel of Hatred, which do you want to talk about that? Like Mercenaries were, I enjoyed Mercenaries, especially in Diablo 3. I thought they were a really fun addition.
The one thing is I can't tell if this is a Diablo 3 series of Mercenaries or a Diablo 2 series of Mercenaries. It feels like they took the Diablo 2 series of Mercenaries in terms of how they worked, but added in like the story aspect type thing that we got in 3. But we'll have to see when it actually goes live.
Yeah, we still do not. So as of this recording, we're recording on Tuesday, August 20th. We don't know a lot. We got a new trailer that was really splashy, gave us a lot of atmosphere about who these mercenaries are going to be. But later this week, we're actually going to get more information. So we will probably be talking about more mercenaries details in the next podcast.
All right. In addition to mercenaries, we've heard about a couple new dungeons. Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, what are they? Tell me about them.
Well, I can't remember the name of the Karast. I think it's Karast Depths or Karast.
The Karast Undercity.
Yeah, Karast Undercity. Basically, if you play Diablo 2, you know the deal with Karast. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys all the reasons why Karast is coming back. But since it's a big part of the original story of Diablo 2 and the original story of Mephisto in the Diablo series, keep in mind that Diablo 2, Mephisto played a big role in that one as well, and that's what's being carried through here. Karast Undercity is essentially your character fought their way through it to get through Karast and into I can't remember the name of the next one. They were like linked. There was the two cities, but Karast was the actual capital, and the other one, Travancore. Travancore was the religious capital, which is where Mephisto was actually spending his time living inside the body of the Quahagan. So I think my feeling is that going into Karast Undercity is either going to be basically an exploration of just how messed up Karast was when Mephisto was, first, ruling over the Zakarum Church as a, ear inside the mind of the Quahagan, or it's going to be how you get to Travancore. Because in the original game, you have to travel through Karast to get to Travancore. So I'm thinking that's another possibility. But either way, it's a big part of Diablo 2. Karast is a huge part of the story of, chasing after the Dark Wanderer, of seeing the corruption that the primevals have wreaked upon Sanctuary. And especially for Mephisto, this is a big deal. This is where hopefully there will be like secrets and stuff about Mephisto we find out in there. The other one I didn't know anything about. Like straight up, I saw it. I thought, ooh, what's that? Don't know anything about it.
I mean, this is another one that I hope we find out more about later. Blizzard actually announced this one with, I believe, the expansion. It's called the Dark Citadel, which is a co-op PvE experience of some kind. And it's another thing. We still don't have a lot of details. We have some concept art and a name now. So I want to know what it is. Hopefully we'll find out more soon.
We should also point out the Karast Undercity is going to be a multi-stage dungeon. So I'm not sure what they mean by that. Like, is it going to be like you go in, you clear a thing? Like, is it going to feel like a roguelike? I don't know. I have no idea what it is going to be. Just know that it's multi-stage. But the co-op PvE dungeon sounds interesting because, I mean, all dungeons are PvE in Diablo. So why did you have to specify that? And it makes me wonder what we're going to get for PvP down the road. But I am really interested in seeing it. It might just be that it's only co-op. Like, because most dungeons nowadays have co-op, but they also have, you can single play them or go in with a group. It might be that you can just do this in a group. I've heard people describe it as a raid, but I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
Well, we have...
Go ahead.
we have raid-like events in Diablo Immortal where you have to queue up with a number of other people to defeat a boss. So maybe it's taking some cues there. And I know we don't like Diablo Immortal. I know a lot of you listeners probably don't like Diablo Immortal either because it's microtransaction hell, but it's actually a very good game. The gameplay is very good.
Oh yeah, the gameplay itself is
frankly
great.
So I mean, maybe this is a place where Diablo is taking some cues from its mobile cousin, because there is a lot more group content and more involved group content.
Yeah, and I mean that's something that I'm surprised they haven't really leaned into a bit heavier, because one of the selling points of Diablo 4 was that it was going to essentially be like the Diablo MMO, right? Like you were going to see players in the wild, and it was going to emphasize group content, and you were going to do stuff like raids or things like that. And we really haven't gotten that, not fully. Like you can see players in the wild and like world events, you can randomly like wind up with people, but like it's been very small, very little, right?
I mean, you can do the world bosses, which do require a big group to conquer. But late game, those bosses die very quickly.
Yeah, you can just rock up to those too. You don't have to actually have a group going. You just rock up to them and start throwing things at her.
Legion events also, those are kind of group activities where you go there and you have to complete different objectives as a group. It's not something where you go and neither of those things are things where you go and sign up for a group. It's like you just go there and you'll find a bunch of people there and you all complete this activity together. So it could do something a little more organized and focused, maybe.
All right. Moving on from that, we have a little bit of the Overwatch 2 news, which I'm going to go through pretty quickly just because, well, I haven't been playing it and I know you two haven't. So one thing
give me motion sickness.
I know. Widowmaker gets a Sylvanas Windrunner skin, which one, I'm surprised it took this long, and two, I agree with the color commentary here, which is the least creative tie-in between the two franchises ever.
I mean, maybe creative isn't the right word. Maybe I should have said least surprising.
Least inspired, right?
Yeah, I was not shocked by this. I did not go, Sylvanas Windrunner, Widowmaker. I was like, yes, the assassin sniper is going to be the famous sniping archer. Yeah, that's fair, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it would have been funnier if the Sylvanas Windrunner skin was for, like, say, not Genji, his brother.
Hanzo?
Yeah, Hanzo. If Hanzo had gotten that skin, then I'd be interested. That's all I'm saying.
I would sign up for that. That alone would get me to play more frequently. But yeah, like the skins are always they're kind of an integral part of the game. They have been since release, so they're still adding more, and there still looks like there might be room for more crossover. Honestly, the one skin that I want is Reinhardt as Garrosh. I want that so badly that I can taste it. So it's like literally, like he's got the giant axe. Just make him Garrosh. Why hasn't this been done yet? Blizzard, I am giving you free money at this point. Just do this. This is a thing that will happen, and people will give money for.
I get your Garrosh, but I want to throw out another possibility here. Grommash
or Sarfang.
Yes, or Sarfang. Just multiple skins of axe wielding orcs. Heck, you could put Broxagar in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, again, I am very surprised that there hasn't been more crossover with WoW characters in general. Like, it just seems like something that they would do more frequently. Like, Sombra is a very quick assassin. I'm surprised that why can I not remember her name now?
Lillian Voss, you think?
Not Lillian Voss. I was thinking, the one that Anduin hangs out with.
Oh, right. Valeria Sanguinar.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying with Valeria Sanguinar, but I feel like we haven't talked enough about the Lillian Voss idea yet. So let's circle back to that.
But she's another good candidate, but there's a ton of really cool analogs that they could do. I mean, they did that with the Diablo stuff. They did Diablo inspired skins for the event. With me personally, I loved Wrecking Ball as Asmodeus. Like, I thought that was just absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Asmodon, yeah.
Or Asmodon, excuse me. I've got the 9 hells on the brain. But like the idea, like not only was there like the attention to detail, and I will forever point this out, the fact that Wrecking Ball had nipple piercings. was just mind blowing to me. But it was hilarious because it was so on brand for a Diablo skin. But like, that was a really cool crossover. I want to see more WoW crossover into it. I think there's plenty of room for it. So, and then go ahead.
I do think with the 20th anniversary, we're going to see maybe more of these crossovers with other Blizzard games. We did just see WoW crossover skins show up in Diablo 4. And so this is the first WoW crossover skin in Overwatch, but I'm kind of doubting it's going to be the last, and that we'll probably see some more maybe in the near future. Yeah.
Well, we will see into that future, but right now, moving along, the Overwatch 2 Season 12 has started with the new hero Juno, which I know really nothing about. I haven't really explored it. And it looks like there's another Warcraft hook here because at the end of the trailer, there's a shot of Frostmourne. So maybe we're going to get more Warcraft skins in the pipeline, like you were saying, right?
See, I would love it if they, instead of doing the thing where they make a specific skin for a specific class or character, they make like everybody gets their own version of the Lich King.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That would be really
everyone
rad.
gets a Lich King skin, or even if it's just like they did in Hearthstone. Wow, there, Brain was not going to say the word Hearthstone until I finally hit it. They had the various Death Knight versions of every like iconic character. So you had the Jaina one and the Anduin one, and I think you could do a lot with that, and that would be really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think here. Like, I'm looking at some of the heroes that you could play as, and I'm wondering who would be here. But like, I want, like, I'm looking at Lifeweaver, and Lifeweaver just screams to me Malfurion. I don't know why, but I just want him in some weird Malfurion cosplay. Like, come on, give it to me. I don't know. I like wacky crossovers like this.
I'm just annoyed he keeps telling me to be quiet.
But hopefully we will see more of that in the future. There is some, I believe, Hearthstone, the new Battleground season has started. Season 8, Liz, is that correct?
Yes, it kicked off today, and I am super excited. I have not had a chance to log on and play it yet. Battlegrounds is my favorite game mode, though. And it's adding trinkets that you can pick up that are gonna kind of change the way you play. I love new seasons because they come in and add new mechanics, and they are great. So this is just one I'm really looking forward to playing when I have time. But when are any of us going to have? I don't know. So many games. Yeah,
nope.
That's probably right.
Speaking of so many games, there's one last thing that we can talk about real quick. We only have a few minutes left, but I figure this is near and dear to your hearts, and don't worry, I will wrangle you in time. But Dragon Age, we have a release date for the new Dragon Age. Who wants to gush?
Yes. We're getting a new Dragon Age. We're really getting a new Dragon Age. It's not Vaporware. I joked about this being Vaporware.
Do you notice that they didn't give us the date or even tell us the expansion new name or anything until you wrote that post? It was like the next day they had, finally she broke new information.
October 31st, Dragon Age the Veilguard is coming out.
Tell your kids to get their own candy this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting choice of release date, but if it's Halloween or new Dragon Age game, my choice is it's Dragon Age, guys. It's Dragon Age.
Dress up as a dragon. I don't see a real issue.
I am looking forward to it as well, and I think that'd be how I'm spending my Halloween as well. Because why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm worried. I'm extremely worried about this game because it has been 10 years since BioWare made a Dragon Age game. The company has changed a lot since then, so I feel like there's a question about: is BioWare still the BioWare we remember, and are they still making the kind of Dragon Age games we love?
Isn't Jennifer Hepler working on this, though?
I think so.
Yeah, Jennifer Hepler is working on this thing. That goes from I'm feeling, I'm not convinced yet to, okay, I'm a lot closer to being convinced. Because Jennifer Hepler, man, everything I loved about Dragon Age 2 is Jennifer Hepler. This is someone who I know wrote Aveline. Well, actually, I don't know that for 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure she wrote Aveline. Aveline's just got some of my favorite lines. I especially love. They go into that. I don't think I can say this on this show. The place where you can make friends with people for money. You pay them to be your friend. You know the place I'm talking about. You walk in and someone says, "What's the difference between a blank and a blank?" And Isabella says the shoes are nicer, and Aveline just goes, "Your shoes are fine." And it's just, if you know the words I'm not saying, because I can't. It's just such an incredible burn, and it's just, I remember just seeing that and going, oh, somebody who really cared about how painful words can be wrote this bit. So yeah, I'm down now that I know Jennifer Hapler's involved. I'm gonna just say this. I need to know if a certain character dies, because if that character dies, I need to keep my wife away from this game at all costs. I need you to understand that if a certain guy who is in love with this crossbow doesn't make it through this, I think we need to have words, guys. I don't think you can do that. That'd be like if you killed Garrus permanently. You don't get to kill certain characters. Now on the other hand, Cue Ball, yeah, you can kill Cue Ball. I'm totally down for that. I hope we kill him soon. I hope he's like a first act death, and it turns out the real villain is even worse. But we'll see what goes on with that. I am also, in case you can't tell, I am super excited.
I mean, we've all been waiting for it, I think. And the fact that, like, it's real and it's, a thing that it was going to be tangible. So, like, I think we're all super excited with it.
Yeah, there's like the fact that the combat system is entirely redesigned and they're going for like almost more of a Dark Souls-y feel, but not quite.
It does seem a lot more actiony. And even Dragon Age Inquisition was more actiony than 2, and 2 was more actiony than Origins. So it's pushing more in this direction. That's probably what I'm particularly worried about. That is it going to feel like Dragon Age? I did enjoy Inquisition. I'm totally happy with that. Is this going to push it too far into an action game, or even into a Souls-like game where you have these challenging maneuvers you have to pull off, or challenging things that you have to dodge or be one shot?
I'd say,
of course,
for a little bit I saw of it, it looked to me almost like the Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order type gameplay, where it's Dark Soulsy but not quite as aggressively difficult.
It does feel like a very modern game. It feels like this is the game that looked at where other games are going and said, "I'm going to do that too," instead of being like, "No, I'm going to keep to my tabletop roots." And it's the way Dragon Age has been evolving over the past decade. It's been going there. So I gotta say, I'm anxious, but I am too deep into Dragon Age to not be playing this game on Halloween. That's it. I've got to play it. I can't not play it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all super excited. I enjoyed Inquisition quite a bit.
Inquisition has its flaws, and I'm not going to pretend.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
But I mean, once I was able to get past the plastic hair when the game first released, because I had that bug and I could not get rid of it. Like everybody looked like they had Lego hair, and it for whatever reason it tipped that uncanny valley scale for me just enough into the part where I just could not play it until like that got sorted. But then after that, I really enjoyed the game. But yeah, I think we're at time. So friends, we didn't get to answer any questions from you, and I apologize for that. But as you can see, there's absolutely nothing going on this week or relatively soon at all whatsoever. But Blizzard Watch is made possible due to the generous contributions at patreon.com/BlizzardWatch. Your continued support means that this podcast siting community is able to thrive and grow. Blizzard Watch supporters enjoy exclusive benefits like early access to the podcast, better chance at having your question answered on our podcast with a Q&A answer you site experience. If you have questions for this or any of our podcasts, be sure to send those into podcast@blizzardwatch.com. Specify the show that it is for, as well as any special pronunciation of your name. If you are on Discord, you can hit us up on the Q and Podcast Questions channel. Same rules apply. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, as a way of saying thank you for helping us keep the lights on, we have the Patreon Q and Podcast Questions channel set aside for you, where you can put your questions and themes and anything else you want in there, as long as it makes sense and is appropriate. Yeah. So with that, folks, we'll see you next week.